everyone, you're watching World News program with me, Maryam Zian, to the headlines. As the crisis in Gaza aggravates, the death toll reaches 50,000, with 58 new deaths in the past 24 hours. Hamas calls Israeli attacks brutal revenge, and the UN warns of a humanitarian collapse in Gaza, accusing Israel of ignoring human life. Ex-Israeli airstrikes kill 3 in southern Lebanon. President Aoun warns of ceasefire violations threatening stability. Also coming up, US and Iran to hold direct talks in Oman amid tensions and nuclear concerns. Russia, China, and Iran hold consultations on nuclear program while Moscow supports diplomatic talks with US. China warns of firm action against new US tariffs while the EU seeks negotiation to avoid escalation. Hello and welcome back to the details of the program. First, in our news file, in the Gaza Strip, local sources reported that 21 Palestinians were killed in Israeli occupation airstrikes on various areas of the Strip since dawn on Tuesday. Israeli warplanes conducted intensive bombardment of Khan Yunis, resulting in the martyrdom of at least 6 Palestinians, including children. The occupation also bombed homes in Gaza City in the south or in the north of the Strip and in other areas of the central region. The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza announced Tuesday that 58 Palestinians were martyred and 213 others were wounded and transferred to Gaza hospitals over the past 24 hours. In a statement, the ministry said the death toll since the resumption of the aggression on the Strip has risen to 1,449 martyrs and 3,647 wounded. The health ministry in Gaza also noted that the death toll from the Zionist aggression on the Strip since October 7, 2023 has risen to 58,810 martyrs. The Islamic resistance movement Hamas stated that what is happening in Gaza is not just military pressure, but rather a brutal revenge against innocent civilians. In a statement on Tuesday, Hamas called on the countries of the world to take responsibility and stop the aggression immediately, emphasizing that escalating the attacks will not break the will of the Palestinian people. The military escalation, they added, will not bring the prisoners back alive, but rather threatens their lives and kills them. And the United Nations humanitarian organizations have warned of a total collapse of the humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip. In a joint statement signed on Monday by UN representatives from UNICEF, UNRWA, the World Health Organization, the World Food Programme, the UN Office for Project Services, and the UN Under-Secretary General for Humanitarian Affairs and Emergency Relief Coordinator, the organizations described what is happening in Gaza as a complete disregard for human life. They held the Zionist entity responsible for the new wave of forced displacement, stressing that Gaza has been under a suffocating blockade for over a month. And also, UN spokesman Stéphane Dujarric said that nearly 400,000 Palestinians have been displaced again within the Gaza Strip since Israel resumed its aggression, equivalent to 1 in 5 Palestinians in the Strip. Dujarric added that no measures have been taken to ensure the safety and survival of civilians, noting that this is a responsibility that falls on Israel as the occupying power.
Overall, we estimate that nearly 400,000 people have been displaced yet again since the breakdown of the ceasefire. That's 18% of all Palestinians in Gaza. And no arrangements to secure their safety and survival have been made, a responsibility that falls on Israel as the occupying power.
And hundreds of activists demonstrated in front of the United Nations headquarters in New York, denouncing the Zionist occupation's aggression in the Gaza Strip. Protesters called on the UN Security Council and General Assembly to intervene to stop the genocide and allow Palestinians to return to their homes. Activists also protested near the residence of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is currently visiting the U.S., condemnation of the crimes committed by his army against innocent civilians in Gaza. They raised banners denouncing the ongoing Zionist crimes, and the bombing of homes and tents in the Gaza Strip. Israeli occupation forces stormed the city of Tubas in the northern West Bank from all directions, deploying large military reinforcements. Palestinian media indicated that the forces raided residential buildings, turning them into military outposts, deployed snipers, and imposed a curfew in the area. This came in parallel with the siege imposed on the city of Nablus, which has been surrounded from all sides with iron gates and military checkpoints. And in conjunction with the systematic destruction of all forms of life in the Gaza Strip, settler attacks in the West Bank have escalated to an unprecedented level amid significant support from the extremist Zionist government and its policies aimed at uprooting Palestinians from their land. Usama Ayadi has the report.
Under the cover of war, while the world watches Gaza, a violent land grab is accelerating across the West Bank. Armed settlers, emboldened by the Zionist and its government, are burning homes, terrorizing families, and driving Palestinians off their land with near total impunity.
This is an occupation. It's here to kick us out of our homes and our lands. And the message we want to send out is we are staying. We were willing to sacrifice, the most sacrifice. We're willing to sacrifice our lives, but we're not leaving our homes and our lands.
This is what forced displacement looks like. In villages like Salfit and Jordan Valley, settlers arrive with guns and Molotov cocktails, threatening families until they flee. Those who resist face beatings, arson, or even worse violations.
So we're very, very disappointed with the Trump administration, especially because of their condoning all of the actions that the IDF and the settlers are doing.
The settlers don't act alone. Ministers Ben-Gvir and Smotrich openly call for annexation, and land they framed for generations. Rights groups accuse the Zionist entity of turning a blind eye, or worse, enabling ethnic cleansing in a move that does not differ much from the displacement efforts against the people of Gaza.
We've had many, many incidents from settlers, from IDF soldiers, and in the last, I would say it started before October 7th. A lot of people think that this is the aftermath of October 7th, and this is really a wrong idea, because in this town, in Termusaya, we had settlers attack in June of 2023, which was prior to October 7th. So the idea of October 7th instigating all of these incidents is a false idea.
Yet amid the ashes, defiance. They burn, we'll rebuild, one survivor says. But with Gaza dominating headlines as the Zionist killings of hundreds of thousands persist, few are watching the West Bank's map being redrawn, one torched home at a time.
3 people were killed and others injured in Zionist airstrikes on southern Lebanon, according to the Lebanese Ministry of Health. The ministry stated that a drone strike by the Israeli enemy on the Dardara-Khiyam road resulted in the martyrdom of 2 Syrian nationals and the injury of 1 Lebanese citizen. And President Joseph Aoun warned on Tuesday that Israeli occupation violations of the ceasefire agreement is deliberately threatening stability in southern Lebanon. Emphasized during a meeting with Greek Defense Minister Nico Dandias that the continued Israeli assaults on Lebanese territory, their refusal to withdraw from the 5 Hills, and their failure to return the Lebanese prisoners represent a clear violation of UN Security Council Resolution 1701, the agreement reached last November. Algerian Minister of Foreign Affairs and State Minister Ahmed Attaf held talks Tuesday with his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi, who is on an official visit to Algeria. According to a statement from the Algerian Foreign Ministry, the discussions extensively addressed developments in the Middle East, with a particular focus on the grave situation in Palestine, especially in light of the ongoing brutal aggression against the Palestinian people in Gaza. And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt confirmed Tuesday that upcoming talks between the U.S. and Iran and Oman will be direct, despite Tehran's claims they would be indirect. Leavitt stressed that the president has reimposed tough sanctions on Iran and made it clear that Tehran must choose between negotiating a deal or facing grave consequences.
Well, first of all, when it comes to Saturday, I won't get ahead of the president. He has said there will be direct talks with Iran on Saturday. I won't further any details from this podium for obvious reasons, security reasons. It will, provide an update as we always have. However, when it comes to Iran, the president has reimposed crippling sanctions on the Iranian regime, and he's made it very clear to Iran they have a choice to make. You can strike a deal with the president, you can negotiate, or there will be hell to pay. And as the president said yesterday, if they don't choose to move forward with diplomacy and a deal, which is the direction we do see them headed in, there will be grave consequences to pay.
And Iran's foreign minister said Tuesday he will meet with U.S. envoy Steve Witkoff in Oman for the first negotiation under the Trump administration, seeking to halt Tehran's rapidly advancing nuclear program as tensions remain high in the Middle East.
Our main goal in these talks is obviously to secure the rights of the Iranian people and to get the sanctions lifted. If the other side genuinely wants to work things out, I believe that this goal is within reach. We believe a deal can definitely be struck. So as the saying goes, the ball is in the U.S. court. If they show up in Oman with genuine willingness, we'll certainly reach a result.
And on Tuesday, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi affirmed that reaching an agreement with the United States is possible if Washington demonstrates a genuine will in the upcoming talks scheduled for later this week in Oman. According to Iran's official IRNA news agency, Araghchi emphasized that the primary objective of the negotiations is to secure the rights of the Iranian people and lift the sanctions. And Russia, China, and Iran have held expert-level consultations in Moscow on Tuesday on Tehran's nuclear program, according to Russian media citing officials. The Kremlin had earlier affirmed its readiness to do everything in its power to help ease tensions between the U.S. and Iran. And the Kremlin has stated that Russia supports both direct and indirect talks between Iran and the U.S. regarding Tehran's nuclear program. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov affirmed that such talks could help ease tensions between the two sides, emphasizing Moscow's support for a diplomatic and political resolution.
We definitely support direct talks between US and Iran because we have repeatedly said that we support the settlement of Iran's nuclear file through political and diplomatic means. If this happens to be this way, it can only be welcomed. We know that certain US-Iranian contacts, direct and indirect, are planned in Oman, and of course, this can only be welcomed, because it may lead to a de-escalation of tension around Iran.
China's foreign ministry said on Tuesday that Beijing will take necessary measures in response to the latest U.S. threats to impose new tariffs. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Li Jian stated during a regular press briefing that China will continue to take firm and strong actions to safeguard its legitimate right to development.
I would like to reiterate that there are no winners or tariff war. Protectionism offers no way out. The Chinese people do not provoke trouble, but we are not afraid of it. Resorting to pressure, threats, and blackmail is not the right way to engage with China. China will take all necessary countermeasures to resolutely safeguard its legitimate and lawful rights and interests.
And European Commission spokesperson Olof Gild said the European Union wants to negotiate with the US to avoid the imposition of new tariffs on European products. Gill stressed that the Commission is seeking a solution to the crisis without escalation, adding that the EU is not responsible for the current situation and is working hard to address the challenges and reach an understanding with its American partners.
Response to the US, in terms of the measures we come forward with, achieve their intended purpose, which is to allow for the minimum amount of damage here in the European Union, while providing us with the maximum amount of leverage in our negotiations. And I repeat, and I will keep repeating until I'm blue in the face, we don't want tariffs. We want to avoid them. We didn't start the situation. We're trying to fix it. We're waiting for our American counterparts to engage in a meaningful way.
Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune received on Tuesday afternoon Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and his accompanying delegation, according to a statement from the Algerian presidency. The statement also added that the meeting was attended by Presidential Chief of Staff Boualem Boualem and Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Mr. Attaf. Following his meeting with President Tebboune, the Iranian foreign minister said that he had conveyed President Masoud Pezeshkian's invitation to his Algerian counterpart to visit Tehran, noting that Algerian-Iranian relations are deep-rooted, solid, and fraternal.
I had the great honor and pride of meeting today with His Excellency the Algerian President. It was a very cordial meeting during which I conveyed the warm greetings of the President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mr. Pezeshkian, and the Iranian people to His Excellency, and I reiterated the Iranian President's invitation to his Algerian counterpart to visit Tehran. Of course, the relations between Iran and Algeria as friendly and Muslim countries are profound, deep-rooted, fraternal and solid. And we have very similar views on regional and international issues, and we have always maintained consultations at the regional and international levels.
And in the same context, Araghchi underlined that his meeting with President Tebboune allowed for the discussion of several bilateral issues, including economic cooperation and political consultations in the international arena.
During the meeting with His Excellency the Algerian President, we tackled all bilateral questions as well as economic cooperation, political consultations and international cooperation.
The Iranian foreign minister emphasized that the crimes committed by the Zionist entity against the Palestinian people were among the most important topics he discussed with President Abdelmajid Tebboune, praising Algeria's supportive stances on the rights of the Palestinian people.
We also addressed during the meeting the regional developments, notably in Palestine, and the crimes committed by the Zionist entity against the Palestinians, particularly the people of Gaza. This was the most important issue we addressed during this meeting. From here, I would like to thank and highly salute the courageous and just positions of Algeria and His Excellency the Algerian President in supporting the rights of the Palestinian people. I also commend Algeria's truly courageous stances at the United Nations and the Security Council. I hope, through cooperation between Islamic states and the states of the region, to bring an end to the crimes committed by the Zionist entity against the Palestinian people.
Abbas Araghchi emphasized that the exchange of Algerian and Iranian visits will continue, expressing hope to receive Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune in Tehran this year.
I would like to pay tribute to the souls of Algerian fighters and militants who contributed in snatching the independence of the state of Algeria. In conclusion, I would like to extend my thanks for the hospitality and the warm welcome granted by the government and people of Algeria, notably the Algerian Minister of Foreign Affairs. These relations and the exchange of political delegations is continuing, and we hope that during the current year we will receive His Excellency the Algerian President in Tehran.
And on Tuesday, Algerian Minister of State and Foreign Affairs Ahmed Attaf held private talks with his Iranian counterpart Abbas Araghchi, who is on an official visit to Algeria. This was followed by an expanded working session with members of the two delegations. A statement from the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs clarified that the talks provided an opportunity to review various aspects of the relationship between Algeria and Iran and to discuss ways to strengthen and enhance their bilateral ties. Algerian President Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune received Algerian researcher and scientist Karim Zghib, according to a statement from the presidency. The meeting was held in the presence of the director of the presidential office, Boualam Boualam, and Deputy Minister for Renewable Energies, Nordin Issa. Following the meeting, Karim Zghib said that Algeria will work on developing its lithium sector used in various global industries, adding that the lithium battery industry could create up to 50,000 jobs.
Today, Mr. President Abdelmajid Tebboune spoke about lithium batteries during the reception. We discussed lithium, iron, and phosphate mines. Since lithium batteries are essential for electric cars and energy storage, God willing, we're working with the Ministry of Energy and Sonaram to move forward with local production of phosphoric acid and develop serious concrete projects that will create jobs, potentially over 50,000, maybe even 80,000. Algeria has the resources, minerals and energy, and with good management, we can turn them into real wealth and opportunities for young people.
And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed on Monday for the first time that Ukrainian troops are active in Russia's Belgorod region. Ukrainian forces are still present in parts of the Russian Kursk region, even 8 months after a cross-border attack, although Russian forces have gained much of the lost territory. In his video address, Zelensky said Ukraine's top commander, Alexander Syrsky, had provided a report on the situation at the front line, including in Kursk and Belgorod regions.
Today, Commander-in-Chief Alexander Syrsky also reported on the front line our presence in the Kursk region and our presence in the Belgorod region. We continue active operations in the enemy's border areas, and this is absolutely justified. The war must return to where it came from. Our main objective remains the same: to protect our land and our communities in the Sumy and Kharkiv regions from Russian occupiers.
And U.S. President Donald Trump affirmed on Monday that the U.S. is having talks with Russia and Ukraine. Trump said that the talks are nearing an end of hostilities, adding that the U.S. did not impose tariffs on Russia because they're in a war. Trump has pledged to swiftly end the war, while reaching out to restore relations with Moscow after years in which the U.S. firmly backed Kiev.
So the reason we're not talking about tariffs with Russia is because we're not doing business essentially with Russia, because they're in a war. And I'm not happy about what's going on with the bombing, because they're bombing like crazy right now. They're bombing. I don't know what's happening there. That's not a good situation. So we're meeting with Russia. We're meeting with Ukraine. And we're getting sort of close. But I'm not happy with all the bombing that's going on the last week or so. Horrible. It's a horrible thing.
With this, ladies and gentlemen, our program has come to an end. Thanks for watching. As always, if you missed any part, you can check our social media platforms. Thank you. Have a great night.